My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the champagne tray when I saw it. A portrait of myself as a child, hanging in an upscale gallery with a price tag of $175,000 and labeled, Artist Unknown. My mother painted that picture 20 years ago, and my sister Clara swore it had been destroyed in a fire. But there it was, being sold by the same sister who had spent 3 years pretending I didn't exist. What I discovered that night about my family, my inheritance, and the doctor we all trusted would unravel a conspiracy that went far deeper than a stolen painting. If you're watching this, drop a comment telling me where you're from, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about family betrayals that change everything. The champagne glasses clinked against my tray as I weaved through the gallery crowd, my feet aching from the double shift. First the diner until 3, now this, serving wine to people who probably spent more on a single painting than I made in 6 months. But I needed every dollar. Rebuilding a life from nothing wasn't cheap, especially when your own sister had made sure you had nothing to rebuild with. I'd learned not to look at the artwork. It hurt too much. Every brushstroke, every canvas reminded me of Mom, and thinking about Mom meant thinking about Clara, and thinking about Clara opened wounds I'd spent 3 years trying to close. So I kept my eyes down, focused on not spilling Chateau, whatever on someone's designer shoes. That's why I almost missed it. The tray wobbled in my hands as I turned toward the main exhibition wall. Spotlights illuminated a portrait that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist. A little girl sat on a windowsill, sunlight spilling across her face like liquid gold. Her dark hair caught the light in that specific way, the way Mom always painted it. The shadow under her chin was slightly off, never quite matching the angle of the sun. I knew that shadow. I'd watched Mom struggle with it for weeks when I was 9 years old. It was me. The tray slipped from my numb fingers. Glass shattered. Champagne pooled across the polished floor. Guests stepped back with startled gasps, but I barely heard them. I was moving toward the painting like it was pulling me, my heart hammering so hard I thought my ribs might crack. The placard beneath it read, Artist Unknown, $175, 000. My stomach dropped. Unknown. As if my mother's hand hadn't created every brushstroke. As if I hadn't sat for hours on that windowsill while she mixed colors and hummed under her breath. As if this painting hadn't supposedly burned in the fire Clara told me destroyed most of Mom's work. Miss, are you all right? Someone touched my elbow, but I jerked away. I found Marvin Hale near the bar, his silver beard perfectly trimmed, his smile practiced and empty. He was talking to a couple about investment potential, his voice smooth as silk. Mr. Hale. My voice came out strangled. That painting, the one of the girl on the windowsill. It's mine. The conversation stopped. The couple stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Marvin's smile didn't waver, but something cold flickered in his eyes. I'm sorry, what? That painting. It belonged to my mother. It's me in the portrait. It was stolen. He laughed. Actually laughed, a condescending chuckle that made my face burn. Miss, I understand you're a fan of the arts, but this is a serious establishment. We don't tolerate. I'm not lying. My hands were shaking. Several guests had turned to watch now, their expressions ranging from curious to disgusted. My mother painted that. Her name was Catherine Ward. That painting is mine. Security, Marvin said quietly. That's when I saw her. Clara emerged from the VIP lounge in an emerald dress that probably cost more than my rent, a wine glass held delicately in her manicured fingers. For a moment, our eyes met across the gallery, and something in my chest cracked open. She looked different, older, harder, her face carved into an expression I didn't recognize. This wasn't the sister who used to braid my hair and sneak me cookies after bedtime. This was a stranger wearing Clara's face. She walked toward us with measured steps, her heels clicking against the floor. I expected recognition, maybe guilt, perhaps even anger. What I got was worse. Is there a problem, Marvin? Her voice was cool, detached. This woman claims the portrait belongs to her, Marvin said, his tone suggesting he thought I was delusional. Clara looked at me like She was examining a piece of furniture. I have no idea who this woman is. The words hit me like a physical blow. Clara, what are you? I'm an only child, she continued, turning back to Marvin. I don't know what kind of scam she's running, but I assure you, she has no connection to that painting or to me. The floor tilted beneath me. Only child. The words echoed in my skull. She was erasing me. Right here, in front of everyone, she was pretending I didn't exist. You sold it, I whispered, the realization dawning. You told me it burned. You told me everything burned. But you sold it. Clara's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. Marvin, please have security escort this person out. I don't know what she wants, but I won't tolerate harassment. 2 security guards appeared at my shoulders. Guests were whispering now, phones probably already out. I should have left. Should have walked away with whatever dignity I had left. But I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what was happening. Clara, please. I tried one more time. It's me. It's Elena. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe. Or guilt. But then it was gone, replaced by that cold mask. I don't know anyone named Elena, she said. They escorted me toward the door, but not before I heard Marvin asking Clara if she was all right, his voice full of concern for her, the victim of some crazy woman's delusions. I wanted to scream, wanted to tear the painting off the wall and run. But all I could do was let them lead me away while my sister sipped her wine and turned her back. I didn't go home. Couldn't. Instead, I circled the block 3 times, my mind racing. Why would Clara do this? Yes, we'd been estranged. Yes, there had been arguments after Mom died, but this? Erasing my entire existence? Then I remembered something Mom used to say while she worked. Every real ward painting has a secret. Only my daughters will know where to look. The hidden signature. Mom's special mark, almost invisible unless you knew exactly where to find it. She'd shown us once, made us promise to remember. If Marvin had bothered to check, he'd know that painting wasn't by an unknown artist. I waited until the gallery crowd thinned, then slipped back inside through the service entrance. The catering staff barely glanced at me, just another server cleaning up after the event. My heart pounded as I made my way past the main gallery toward the administrative offices. I needed proof, documentation, anything that would show how Clara had acquired that painting. The office hallway was dim, most doors locked. But administrative assistants are notoriously bad at securing paperwork, and I'd spent enough time in galleries to know where consignment records were usually kept. 3rd door, filing cabinet against the far wall. My hands trembled as I rifled through folders. Invoices, receipts, provenance documents. And then I found it, a thick file labeled consignment, C. Ward. Clara had sold it. Really sold it. Provided authentication, signed documents, accepted payment. But that wasn't the worst part. Beneath the invoice, paperwork clipped together, was a photocopy of a birth certificate. My birth certificate. Except someone had taken a black marker and scratched out my name, my date of birth, everything that proved I existed. In the margin, in what might have been Clara's handwriting, someone had written, "Only child.
No siblings."
The folder slipped from my shaking hands. Papers scattered across the floor. This wasn't just about money or a stolen painting. This was systematic erasure. Clara hadn't just cut me out of her life. She'd cut me out of history itself. I gathered the papers with numb fingers, shoving them back into the folder. I needed to confront Marvin, make him see what Clara had done. But as I stood, I heard footsteps in the hallway. I barely had time to shove the folder under my arm before Marvin appeared in the doorway, his expression thunderous. "What the hell are you doing in my office?" I held up the folder, my voice steadier than I felt. "Looking for the truth. Clara lied to you. She forged documents. That painting was stolen from me." He crossed the room in 3 strides, snatching the folder from my hands. His face paled as he flipped through the contents, landing on the defaced birth certificate. "She told me." He trailed off, looking genuinely shaken. "She said she was an only child. Provided documentation. If she lied, I could lose my license." The gallery could be sued for dealing in stolen property. I'm not here to sue you, I said quickly. I just want what's mine. Elena, you're still here? Clara's voice came from behind me, sharp with fury. I turned. She stood in the doorway, still in that emerald dress, but her composure was cracking. Her eyes were wild, her lipstick slightly smudged. You went through private files? She looked at Marvin. I want her arrested. That's breaking and entering, theft. She found this. Marvin held up the altered birth certificate.
His voice was cold now.
Care to explain why you told me you were an only child when you clearly have a sister? Clara's face went white. That's not what it looks like. It looks like fraud, Marvin said flatly. Which means everything you sold me could be contested. Do you have any idea what this means for my reputation? Our mother left those paintings to both of us, I said, my voice rising. Clara took them, sold them, and then she erased me from the records so no one would question her. You left, Clara suddenly screamed, all pretense of control shattering. You walked away from Mom, from me, from everything. You don't get to come back now and play the victim. I left because you pushed me out. I screamed back. You told me I wasn't welcome anymore, that I was making things worse, that Mom was better off without me hovering. And now I find out you've been selling her paintings, erasing my existence, and lying to everyone about who I am. You have no idea what you're talking about. Clara's voice dropped to something dangerous. You have no idea what I've been protecting you from. Protecting me? You destroyed my birth certificate. Walk away, Elena. Her voice shook now, all the anger draining into something that looked like fear.
Please.
You have no idea what you're digging into. You don't know what happened, what I had to do. The desperation in her voice made me pause. This wasn't the cold, calculated erasure I'd imagined. This was someone terrified. Then tell me, I said quietly. Tell me why you did this. She opened her mouth, closed it, then shook her head. I can't. Not here.
Not now.
Just please, Elena. If you ever loved me, walk away. Before I could respond, a young man appeared in the hallway behind Clara. He was maybe mid-20s, with dark-rimmed glasses and nervous eyes. Excuse me, he said softly. I'm sorry to interrupt, but… Elena, right? I believe you. Clara whirled on him. Jonah, stay out of this. But Jonah stepped forward anyway, his voice shaking but determined. I've seen things. Things Clara didn't mean for anyone to see. More paintings. Documents she tried to hide. He looked at me. Your mother's signature is on all of them. The real signature. Not the one Clara used for authentication. Clara looked like she might be sick. Jonah, you're fired. Fire me, he said. But I can't watch this anymore. I can't keep helping you erase someone's entire life. Marvin was looking between all of us like we'd lost our minds. Someone better start explaining what's going on, or I'm calling the police. The paintings in your back storage room, Jonah said. The ones tagged for overseas shipping? Those are all from the Ward collection. All of them supposedly lost or destroyed. Elena's mother signed them in a specific way, a crescent mark, nearly invisible, on the back of the canvas. Check them. You'll see. Clara lunged forward, but Marvin held up a hand. Stay back, Ms. Ward. He looked at me. Is this true? I nodded. My mother showed us how to find the mark when we were children. She said only her daughters would know where to look. It's embossed into the canvas backing, visible only under angled light. Then let's go check, Marvin said grimly. We filed into the back storage room, a windowless space filled with wrapped canvases and wooden crates. Jonah led us to a corner where 3 paintings leaned against the wall, each tagged with international shipping labels. I recognized them immediately. One was a landscape Mom had painted during a trip to Vermont. Another was a portrait of Clara as a teenager. The third was an abstract piece Mom had worked on for months before she got sick. May I asked Marvin. He nodded. I picked up the Vermont landscape, turned it over, and ran my fingers along the upper right corner of the backing. There, under the overhead light's glare, a tiny crescent appeared, barely more than a shadow in the canvas weave. "There's the mark," I whispered. Marvin examined it, then checked the other two paintings. Each one bore the same hidden signature. His face had gone from angry to ashen. "These are all authenticated as unsigned works," he said. "Clara, you told me these were from an estate sale. You provided documentation that the artist was unknown." "I had to," Clara said, her voice breaking. "You don't understand. I needed the money. I needed to." She stopped abruptly. "Needed to what?" I demanded. "Buy expensive dresses? Live in whatever luxury apartment you're in now."
No.
Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I needed to pay him. To keep him quiet. To keep us safe." "Keep who quiet?" Marvin asked. Clara looked at me, really looked at me for the first time since I'd seen her tonight. "You remember Mom's doctor? Dr. Rowan Pierce?" The name hit me like ice water. Rowan had been Mom's primary physician during her final months. He'd been the one who called to tell me her condition had deteriorated, who'd advised me not to visit when she was too weak for emotional stress. I trusted him completely. "What about him?" I asked slowly. "He's why I erased you," Clara whispered. "He's why I had to make everyone believe you didn't exist. Because if anyone knew the truth about what happened to Mom, about what he did, about what I helped him do." She pressed her hands to her face. "Oh God, Elena.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. What did you do?" My voice was barely audible. "I can show you," Jonah said quietly. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos. "Last week, I had to file some old paperwork. I found a locked drawer in Marvin's office, labeled Ward Estate, private access only. I made copies." "You what?" Marvin looked like he might have a heart attack. Jonah turned his phone toward me. The photo showed a drawer filled with documents. Even on the small screen, I could see the letterhead, Ward Family Estate, medical records, legal documents, and something that made my blood run cold, a handwritten letter with Mom's shaky signature at the bottom. "There's a will," Jonah said. "A real will, dated 3 weeks before your mother died. It names both of you as inheritors. But there's something else, a clause at the bottom that says, 'The child who discovers the hidden mark shall inherit the portrait series.' Your mother wanted you to find those signatures, Elena. She wanted you to prove they were real." My legs felt weak. Clara knew about this? Clara was shaking now, tears streaming down her face. "Rowan told me it was fake. He said Mom wasn't in her right mind when she wrote it, that it wouldn't hold up in court. He said if I tried to fight it, he'd reveal what happened the night she died, and we'd both go to prison." "What happened the night she died?" I demanded. Clara looked at me with haunted eyes. "I'll tell you everything. But not here."
Not with.
She glanced at Marvin and Jonah. "It's not safe." "Safe from what?" Marvin asked. "Ms. Ward, if there's been some kind of medical malpractice or fraud." "It's more than that," Clara whispered. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands, scrolling through messages. "He's been watching, waiting, making sure I do exactly what he says." She turned the screen toward me. The message was simple: "If your sister keeps digging, I'll make sure everyone knows what you did, including the police." "Who sent this?" I asked, though I already knew. "Dr. Pierce," Clara said. "He's been controlling me for 3 years. The paintings, the money, the erasure, all of it was to keep him quiet about what really happened." "Then we go to the police," Marvin said firmly. "If he's blackmailing you."
No.
Clara grabbed his arm. "You don't understand. He has connections. Medical records he altered. Documents he forged. He'll make it look like I killed her. Like I increased her medication on purpose. Like I wanted the inheritance." Her voice broke. Maybe I did. Maybe I was so angry at the world, so tired of watching her suffer, that she couldn't finish. The room fell silent. I stared at my sister, this woman I barely recognized, and saw the weight she'd been carrying. Not just grief, but guilt and fear and the terrible burden of a secret that had poisoned everything. "We need to see everything," I said finally. "Every document, every message, every piece of evidence." We need to know exactly what Rowan has done and what he's been holding over you. The drawer, Jonas said. It's still locked in Marvin's office. I can get us in after closing. Absolutely not, Marvin said. This is beyond my pay grade. If there's blackmail and fraud involved, then help us, I interrupted. You said yourself, if those paintings were obtained fraudulently, your gallery is at risk. Help us gather the evidence, and we'll go to the authorities together. Marvin looked at the three of us, me with my borrowed server uniform, Clara in her designer dress and smeared makeup, Jonah with his nervous energy, and sighed deeply.
Fine.
But we do this properly. We document everything, and we call my lawyer first thing in the morning. He can't know we're looking, Clara said urgently. Rowan has people who work here. Staff who report back to him. Who? Marvin demanded. I don't know exactly. But he knew when Elena showed up tonight within minutes. He texted me while you were talking to her, told me to make her leave before she saw too much. A chill ran down my spine. He's watching right now? Maybe. Clara looked around the storage room like the walls had eyes. He's always watching. Then we move quickly, I said. Tonight. We get into that drawer, we photograph everything, and we find out exactly what leverage he thinks he has. And what about you two? Marvin asked, gesturing between Clara and me. 5 minutes ago you were screaming at each other. Now you're working together? I looked at Clara. She looked back, her eyes red and exhausted. I'm still angry, I said honestly. But I need to know the truth. And if Rowan did what I think he did. I swallowed hard. Mom deserves justice more than I deserve revenge. Clara's face crumpled. I'm so sorry, Elena. For everything. For pushing you away, for lying, for making you think you were crazy when you tried to visit. Rowan convinced me you'd try to take everything, that you'd turn me in, that you were the enemy. She wiped her eyes. I was so stupid, so scared. I chose to believe him because it was easier than facing what I'd done. I didn't trust myself to speak. Instead, I nodded once. We could deal with forgiveness later. Right now, we needed answers. All right, Marvin said, checking his watch. Gallery closes in an hour. Jonah, finish your duties. Clara, Elena, wait in the employee break room. Stay out of sight. When everyone's gone, we'll open that drawer together. We dispersed. Clara and I walked to the break room in heavy silence, the weight of 3 years of estrangement and betrayal hanging between us. The room was small, just a few chairs and a coffee maker, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Clara sat down heavily, pulling off her heels. I practiced this, you know. What I'd say if I ever saw you again. I had a whole speech planned about boundaries and healing and moving on. She laughed bitterly. Turns out none of that matters when your past comes knocking. Why didn't you just tell me? I asked. 3 years, Clara. You could have called, written anything. Instead you erased me. Because I thought I was protecting you. She looked up, and I saw the truth in her eyes. Rowan said if you knew what happened, you'd be implicated too. He said the only way to keep you safe was to make sure you had no legal connection to the estate, no claim to anything. So I falsified documents, spread rumors that you'd abandoned the family, made sure everyone thought I was alone. Her voice cracked. I thought I was saving you from prison. Instead, I just destroyed us both. I wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to the rage that had kept me going through 3 years of silence. But looking at her now, seeing the toll this had taken, I felt something shift. Tell me about that night, I said quietly. The night Mom died. I remember waking up, hearing arguing downstairs. You said I was imagining it. Clara closed her eyes. You weren't imagining it. Rowan was there. He'd come to check on Mom, but she was lucid, more lucid than she'd been in weeks. She was trying to write something, a letter maybe, or an addition to her will. She kept saying she needed to tell you something, that she'd made a mistake trusting the wrong person. Trusting who? I don't know. She never finished. Rowan said she was agitated, that we needed to increase her medication to calm her down. Her voice broke. I believed him, Elena. He was her doctor. I trusted him. So I gave her the extra dose he prepared. And an hour later, she was gone. The words hung in the air between us. You think he killed her? I know he did. Clara opened her eyes, and they were full of anguish. I've spent 3 years replaying that night. The way he insisted we not call you, the way he prepared that exact dose himself, the way he was so calm when she stopped breathing. He said it was peaceful, natural, just her time. But I saw the look on her face, Selena. She was scared. She knew. And he blamed you. He blamed both of us, but mostly me. Said I was the one who administered the medication, that if anyone investigated, I'd be charged with negligence at best, murder at worst. He offered to protect me if I did exactly what he said, sell the paintings through specific channels, keep the money flowing to him, and make sure you never came looking for your inheritance. So, he could keep profiting off Mom's death. Exactly. Clara slumped in her chair. I should have been stronger. Should have gone to the police immediately. But I was terrified and grieving, and he was so convincing. He made it seem like the only way forward was to obey him. And every time I thought about fighting back, he'd send another message reminding me of what I'd lose. We're going to stop him, I said firmly. Whatever it takes. We're going to expose what he did and make sure he can't hurt anyone else. Clara looked at me with something like hope. You believe me? I believe Mom wouldn't have left things the way they were. She was meticulous about her art, her legacy. If she tried to write anew the night she died, it's because she knew something was wrong. I sat down across from Clara. And I believe you were manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to exploit your grief. She reached across the table, stopping just short of touching my hand. Can we, she paused. After this is over, can we try to be sisters again? I looked at her outstretched hand, remembering when we were young and she'd pull me up from falls, always there to catch me. Then I thought about 3 years of silence, of wondering if I'd imagined our whole relationship, of rebuilding myself from nothing because she'd taken everything. I don't know, I said honestly, but maybe we can start with the truth. She nodded, pulling her hand back. The truth.
Yes.
That's a start. The minutes ticked by slowly. We sat in awkward silence, both lost in our own thoughts, until Jonah knocked softly on the door. Galleries closed. Marvin's waiting. We followed him through dim hallways back to Marvin's office. The gallery owner stood by his desk, looking years older than he had an hour ago. He held up a small key. This is against my better judgment, he said. But I need to know what I've been dealing in. If Dr. Pierce has been using my gallery for fraud. He shook his head and unlocked the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet. The drawer was packed with folders, each labeled in neat handwriting. Jonah pulled out the thickest one, labeled simply Ward. We spread the contents across Marvin's desk. Medical records, legal documents, photographs, bank statements. And at the bottom, a handwritten letter on Mom's personal stationery. My hands shook as I picked it up. The handwriting was shaky, but unmistakably hers. My dearest daughters, if you're reading this, I didn't get the chance to finish what I started. I've made terrible mistakes in trusting the wrong people with our legacy. Dr. Pierce is not who he seems. He's been acquiring my paintings through manipulation and false promises, claiming to help secure your futures while planning to sell them for his own profit. I've learned he altered my medical treatment to keep me weak and compliant. I confronted him tonight, and he threatened to hurt you both if I spoke to anyone. I'm writing this in case something happens to me. The paintings are yours, both of you, together. Look for the crescent marks. They'll prove what's real and what's been forged. Don't let him take your inheritance or your relationship with each other. You're stronger together than he could ever be alone. All my love, Mom. The letter blurred as tears filled my eyes. Clara was crying too, one hand pressed to her mouth. She knew, Clara whispered. She tried to warn us. And he'd kill her for it, I said, my voice shaking with rage. This is evidence, Marvin said quietly. This proves premeditation, fraud, possibly murder. We need to take this to the police immediately.
No.
Clara stood abruptly. Not yet. We need more. Rowan will have anticipated this. He'll have covered his tracks, created counter-evidence, made sure anything we bring forward can be explained away or blamed on me. Then what do you suggest? Marvin asked. We need his own words, I said slowly. A confession. Proof that he's been blackmailing Clara, that he orchestrated everything. How do we get that?
Jonah asked.
I looked at Clara. You call him. Tell him I found the letter, that I'm threatening to go to the police. He'll panic. And when he panics, people make mistakes. That's incredibly dangerous, Marvin said. If he feels threatened. He already feels threatened, Clara interrupted. He's been texting me all night, demanding updates, getting more aggressive. He knows Elena's close to the truth. She pulled out her phone, her hand trembling. If I'm going to be free of him, we need to end this now. Then we do it here, Marvin said. In the gallery. Neutral ground. We'll record everything. Clara nodded and typed out a message. We watched as the three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then Rowan's response came through. Stay where you are. I'm coming. And Clara, don't do anything you'll regret. He'll be here in minutes, Clara said, her face pale. His office is only a few blocks away. Good. I picked up Mom's letter, my hand steady now despite the fear coursing through me. Let's finish what Mom started. We waited in the main gallery, the portrait of 9-year-old me watching from the wall. The irony wasn't lost on me. We'd come full circle, back to where this nightmare began. But this time, I wasn't alone. This time, I had allies and evidence and the truth Mom had tried so hard to protect. The gallery door opened. Dr. Rowan Pierce walked in like he owned the place, his leather briefcase in hand, his expression calm and controlled. He looked exactly as I remembered, distinguished, professional, trustworthy. The perfect mask for a monster. Clara, he said warmly. I came as soon as I got your message. What's this about Elena causing trouble? Actually, I stepped out from behind a column. I'm the one causing trouble. And I'm just getting started. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Calculation.
Elena Ward.
I wondered when you'd show up. Still as dramatic as ever, I see. Dramatic. I held up Mom's letter. Is it dramatic to want justice for my mother's murder? Murder? He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Your mother died of natural causes. Complications from her illness. I have all the documentation. Forged documentation, Clara said, stepping up beside me. I'm done, Rowan. I'm done lying, done hiding, done letting you control my life. His mask slipped just slightly. Clara, think about what you're saying. Think about what you have to lose. I've already lost everything that matters, she said. My sister, my integrity, 3 years of my life. I'm not losing anything else to you. Rowan's expression hardened. He set down his briefcase and opened it, not violently, not threateningly, but with the calm precision of someone who'd planned for this moment. I'd hoped we could resolve this quietly, he said, pulling out a stack of papers. But if you insist on making this difficult, I came prepared. He held up the documents. Transfer agreements, already filled out, removing both of you from the Ward estate records. Sign these, and we can all walk away. Refuse, and I'll make sure every authority from here to the state medical board knows exactly what Clara did the night your mother died. She didn't do anything, I said. You did. You manipulated her. You murdered my mother, and you've been profiting off her art ever since. Prove it. His smile was cold. Go ahead. Show me proof that would hold up in any court. Because all I have to do is submit my medical records showing Clara's signature on every medication authorization, Clara's fingerprints on the bottles, Clara's testimony from 3 years ago confirming she was the primary caregiver making all end-of-life decisions. Clara went pale. You said those records were destroyed.
Elite.
He shrugged. I've been lying to you for 3 years, Clara. Why would I stop now? Because we have Mom's letter, I said, holding it up. We have her written testimony that you were manipulating her treatment, threatening her, planning to steal her work. He barely glanced at it. A letter written by a dying woman on heavy medication? That won't hold up. Her judgment was compromised. Everyone knows that. What about bank records? Jonah stepped forward, his voice shaking but determined. Records showing payments from Clara to you, from the gallery to offshore accounts you control, from art buyers to shell companies you created? Rowan's eyes narrowed. Who the hell are you? Someone who's very good at finding things people want to stay hidden. Jonah held up his phone. I've been backing everything up to the cloud. Every document, every photo, every transaction. Even if you destroy what's in that drawer, copies exist. For the first time, Rowan looked genuinely angry. You're interfering in things you don't understand. I understand fraud, Marvin said, emerging from his office. I understand art theft and money laundering. And I understand that my gallery has been used as a front for your crimes. He held up his own phone. I've been recording this conversation. Every word, every threat, every admission. Rowan's composure finally cracked. His face flushed red, his hands clenched into fists. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I have connections. Lawyers. Resources you can't imagine. I will destroy all of you before I let you ruin what I've built. You mean what you stole? I corrected. And you won't destroy anyone else. Because we're going to the police.
Right now.
With every piece of evidence we have. He took a step toward me, and for a moment, I saw the man my mother must have seen that night. Not the caring doctor, but something cruel and desperate underneath. You should have stayed gone, Elena, he said softly. You should have let Clara erase you and moved on with your pathetic little life. But you had to come digging, had to play detective, had to ruin everything. I didn't ruin anything, I said, standing my ground even though every instinct screamed at me to run. You ruined yourself the night you killed my mother. His hand moved toward Clara, reaching for something. She flinched backward. Then, suddenly, he lunged, not at her, but at Mom's letter in my hands, trying to snatch it away. I jerked backward, stumbling. Clara grabbed his arm, trying to pull him back. He shoved her aside hard. She crashed into the sculpture stand, going down with a cry of pain. Clara, I screamed. Jonah charged from the side, tackling Rowan before he could reach me. They hit the floor hard, Rowan's briefcase flying open, scattering papers everywhere. Marvin was already on his phone, shouting for police. I dropped to my knees beside Clara. Blood trickled from a cut on her forehead. Her eyes met mine, wide with fear. Elena, she gasped.
Run.
Hill. But I couldn't leave her. Wouldn't. Not again. Rowan threw Jonah off, his face twisted with rage. He started toward us again, but then sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights flashed through the gallery windows. He froze. His expression went blank. Then something strange happened. He smiled. A cold, knowing smile that made my blood run cold. This isn't over, he said quietly, his voice eerily calm despite everything. None of you understand what you've just done. What you've set in motion. The police burst through the door. Officers swarmed in, shouting orders. Someone pulled Rowan back, away from us. Another officer helped Clara to her feet, checking her injury. I stood there, still holding Mom's letter, my whole body shaking. Around me, the gallery had become a crime scene, papers scattered everywhere, overturned furniture, shocked faces. And above it all, my 9-year-old self watched from the portrait on the wall, frozen in that moment of innocence, before I knew what betrayal felt like, before death and secrets tore our family apart. An officer was asking me questions. I tried to answer, but Rowan's words kept echoing in my head. None of you understand what you've just done. What did he mean? What were we still missing? Clara squeezed my hand, and I realized she was thinking the same thing. This wasn't over. Whatever Rowan had been protecting, whatever he'd been hiding, we'd only scratched the surface. And somewhere in the chaos, as they led him away in handcuffs, I saw him mouth something. 2 words, directed at Clara. He's coming. Clara's face went white. She looked at me, terror in her eyes. Elena, she whispered. There's someone else. Someone worse than Rowan. Someone he's been working for all along. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Clara sat beside me in the waiting area, a butterfly bandage over the cut on her forehead, her emerald dress now wrinkled and stained. We'd been here for hours, giving statements, answering questions, watching officers shuffle between rooms with grim expressions. "He's coming," Clara whispered again, the same two words she'd been repeating since we left the gallery. "Elena, you don't understand. Rowan was never the one in charge." My head pounded. "Then who?" She opened her mouth, closed it. Her hands twisted in her lap. "I don't know his real name. Rowan just called him the collector. He showed up once, maybe 6 months after Mom died. I only saw him from a distance, tall, expensive suit, the kind of man who makes you feel small just by existing."
She shuddered.
Rowan was terrified of him. Said he represented people who'd been waiting years for Mom's collection, people who didn't take no for an answer. Art dealers? Worse. Clara's voice dropped. Rowan said they were the kind of people who made other collectors disappear when they didn't cooperate. That's why he needed the paintings moved quietly, authenticated as unknowns, sold through back channels. The collector wanted Mom's work, but he couldn't risk public sales that might draw attention. I felt sick. "How many paintings did you sell to him?"
7.
"Maybe 8. I lost count." She pressed her palms to her eyes. Rowan would tell me when and where to deliver them. I'd get a text with an address. Always different. Always empty warehouses or storage facilities. I'd drop the painting, leave, and money would appear in an offshore account the next day. "And you never questioned it?" "Of course I questioned it." Her voice cracked. "But every time I hesitated, Rowan would remind me what I'd done, what would happen if I didn't cooperate. He said the collector had connections to law enforcement, to judges, to people who could make evidence disappear or appear." She looked at me, her eyes hollow. I was trapped, Elena. And I was so scared. Detective Morrison appeared in the doorway, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Ms. Ward? Both of you. We need to talk." We followed her into an interview room. She laid several photographs on the table, images from a gallery, close-ups of Mom's letter, screenshots of Clara's phone messages with Rowan. "Dr. Pierce isn't talking," Morrison said. "But his lawyer is already spinning this as a misunderstanding, claiming Pierce was acting in your mother's best interests, that any financial arrangements were legitimate consultancy fees." She looked at Clara. "Without more concrete evidence, we might not be able to hold him beyond 48 hours. What about the letter?" I demanded. "Mom literally says he altered her treatment, that he threatened her." A letter written by a woman on end-of-life medication, according to Pierce's lawyer. They'll argue she was confused, paranoid, not of sound mind. Morrison's expression was sympathetic but firm. "I believe you, but I need something that will hold up in court. Bank transfers, recorded conversations, witnesses who can testify to Pierce's criminal intent." "I have the cloud backups," Jonas said from the doorway. He'd been giving his own statement in another room. "Financial records showing payments from Clara to Pierce, from Pierce to shell companies, from those companies to international buyers." "That helps," Morrison said. "But it still doesn't prove Pierce killed your mother or that he coerced Clara. A good lawyer will argue these were legitimate business transactions." "Then what about the collector?" Clara asked. "The person Pierce was working for? If we can prove there's a larger criminal network." "Tell me everything you know about this person." Clara described what little she remembered, the one glimpse she'd had, the warehouse deliveries, the coded messages. Morrison took notes, her frown deepening with each detail. "This sounds like organized art theft," she said. "If Pierce was part of a larger operation, we're looking at federal charges, conspiracy, racketeering, possibly money laundering. But I'll need to bring in the FBI." She looked at both of us. "Are you prepared for what that means? Federal investigations take time. You'll be under scrutiny. Your lives will be torn apart." "My life's already torn apart," Clara said quietly. "I just want it to mean something. I want Mom to get justice." Morrison nodded. "All right. Stay available. Don't leave town." And if Pierce or anyone connected to him tries to contact you, call me immediately. She handed us each a card. I mean it. These people don't play games. We left the station as dawn broke over the city, painting everything in shades of pink and gold. Clara and I stood on the steps, exhausted and hollowed out, neither of us knowing what to say. Come home with me, I finally offered. You shouldn't be alone. She looked surprised. Your apartment? It's tiny. The couch is uncomfortable, but it's safe. I met her eyes, and I meant what I said. We start with the truth. That includes not abandoning each other again. Her face crumpled. Thank you, she whispered. My apartment was exactly as I described, a studio barely big enough for a bed and a kitchenette, the kind of place you lived in when you were rebuilding from nothing. But it was mine, earned through double shifts and determination, and refusing to let Clara's erasure define me. Clara stood in the middle of the room, looking lost. Without her designer dress and perfect makeup, she looked younger, vulnerable, more like the sister I remembered. Bathroom's there, I said, pointing. I have spare clothes that'll probably fit. Get cleaned up. I'll make coffee. While she showered, I sat on my bed and pulled out Mom's letter, reading it again by the dim morning light. You're stronger together than he could ever be alone. Mom had known, had tried to warn us. And we'd spent 3 years as enemies instead of allies. Clara emerged wearing my old sweatpants and a faded t-shirt, her wet hair hanging loose. She looked more human than she had all night. I forgot what it felt like, she said softly. Being sisters. Just being normal. We were never normal, I said with a weak smile. Remember when you convinced me we could fly if we jumped off the garage roof? You broke your arm. You told Mom it was your idea, so I wouldn't get in trouble. She sat beside me on the bed. I missed you. Every single day, I missed you. Even when I was lying to myself, pretending I was protecting you, part of me was just empty. Like I'd cut off a piece of myself and couldn't figure out how to function without it. I leaned my head on her shoulder. We're going to fix this. Whatever it takes. We're going to expose Rowan, find this collector, and make sure Mom's legacy is protected. Together? Together. We fell asleep like that, sitting up against the wall, the letter still clutched in my hand. When we woke, it was afternoon, and my phone was ringing. Detective Morrison's name flashed on the screen.
Elena?
We have a problem. Dr. Pierce posted bail an hour ago. My stomach dropped.
How?
You said. Someone paid it. $2 million cash. And when we tried to track the source, we hit walls. Offshore accounts, shell companies, the works. Her voice was tight. This is bigger than we thought. I've contacted the FBI, but they need time to build a case. In the meantime, you and Clara need to be careful. Pierce is out, and whoever paid his bail wants something. What do we do? Stay together. Stay visible. Don't meet with anyone you don't trust, absolutely. She paused. And Elena? Check your locks. Keep your phone charged. If anything feels wrong, call 911 first, me second. I hung up and turned to Clara, who'd heard every word. Her face was white.
He's out, she said.
Oh God, he's out, and he knows we went to the police. He knows we have the letter, the evidence. Then we don't give him a chance to retaliate, I said, my mind racing. We go public. We take everything to the media, make it impossible for him to threaten us quietly. The media? If this story breaks, doctor murders patient, steals artwork, blackmails daughter, it becomes too high profile to cover up. The collector, whoever he is, won't risk that kind of attention. Clara stared at me. That's actually brilliant. But we need more than just Mom's letter. We need something undeniable. The paintings, I said suddenly. The ones in Marvin's storage. If we can prove they're all Mom's work, prove Clara sold them under coercion, prove Rowan orchestrated everything, that's a story. That's evidence the public can see. How do we prove coercion? I thought for a moment. Your phone. The messages from Rowan. The threats. The demands. You saved them, right? She nodded slowly. I was too scared to delete them. I thought maybe someday I'd need proof that I wasn't doing this willingly. Then we have our story. And I know exactly who to call. Sarah Chun had been a friend in college, back before everything fell apart. She'd gone into investigative journalism, made a name for herself exposing corruption and abuse. If anyone would take this seriously, it was her. She answered on the second ring.
Elena Ward?
Holy shit, I haven't heard from you in 3 years. I know. Sarah, I need help. Big story, bigger consequences. Are you still at the Tribune? Senior investigative reporter now. What kind of story? Medical fraud, art theft, murder, blackmail, and possibly organized crime. How fast can you get to my apartment? She arrived within an hour, camera crew in tow. We spent the next 3 hours laying out everything: Mom's letter, Clara's testimony, the defaced birth certificate, photos of the paintings with their hidden signatures, bank records Jonah had compiled, text messages between Clara and Rowan spanning 3 years. Sarah's expression grew darker with each revelation. This is Pulitzer-level material, she said finally. But you understand what you're risking? Once this goes public, there's no taking it back. You'll be exposed, vulnerable. Anyone involved will know exactly where to find you.
They already know, Clara said.
At least this way, we control the narrative. Sarah nodded.
All right.
I'll need to verify everything, get corroboration from other sources. Give me 48 hours. I'll run this as a multimedia piece. Print, video, the works. It'll be front page, I'll make sure of it. What about Rowan? I asked. Will this be enough to put him back in jail? If even half of what you've told me checks out, he'll be facing federal charges. And whoever this collector is, they'll have every law enforcement agency in the country looking for them. She packed up her equipment. Stay safe, both of you. And Elena, thank you for trusting me with this. After she left, Clara and I sat in silence, the weight of what we'd just done settling over us. No going back now, she said. No going back, I agreed. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered.
Elena Ward.
The voice was smooth, cultured, unfamiliar. I believe we should talk. Who is this? Someone who has a vested interest in your mother's artwork. Someone who paid a great deal of money to ensure Dr. Pierce could continue his work uninterrupted. A pause. I understand you've been causing complications. The collector.
It had to be.
Clara grabbed my arm, mouthing hang up. But I needed to hear this, needed to understand what we were facing. I'm listening, I said.
Good.
Here's what's going to happen. You and your sister will issue a statement saying you were mistaken about Dr. Pierce, that your accusations were driven by grief and family conflict. You'll return all documentation to its proper owners. In exchange, I'll ensure you both walk away from this with enough money to start over. Somewhere far from here, naturally. And if we refuse? His laugh was soft, dangerous. Then I stopped being generous. Your journalist friend, Sarah Chun, lovely woman, by the way, quite talented, will discover her sources are unreliable. Evidence will disappear. Witnesses will recant. And you, Elena, will find yourself facing charges of your own. Breaking and entering, theft of private documents, defamation. I have excellent lawyers. You can't. I can. And I will. Because unlike Dr. Pierce, I don't make mistakes. I don't get emotional. I simply acquire what I want and eliminate obstacles. Another pause. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, the consequences escalate. Are we clear? The line went dead. I looked at Clara, my hand shaking. He knows about Sarah. He knows everything. Then we tell Morrison. This is a direct threat. A threat we can't prove. No recording, no witnesses, an unknown number he's probably already ditched. I paced the tiny apartment. He's giving us an out because he thinks we'll take it. Because he thinks we're scared enough to walk away. Aren't we? I stopped. Looked at my sister. Thought about Mom and everything she'd sacrificed. Everything she'd tried to protect. No, I said firmly. We're not walking away. We're going to do exactly what he doesn't expect. We're going to accelerate everything. Sarah said 48 hours? We tell her to run it tomorrow. We give interviews, we flood social media. We make this so public, so visible that the collector can't touch us without exposing himself. Clara stood, a fierce determination replacing the fear in her eyes. Let's finish this. We called Sarah back, explained the threat, convinced her to move up the timeline. She agreed, barely, and promised to have the story ready by morning. Then we called Detective Morrison, who assigned protective detail to both of us, and to Sarah. That night, neither of us slept. We sat in my apartment watching the clock tick toward dawn, knowing that in a few hours, our story would be everywhere. The truth about Mom, about Rowan, about everything that had been hidden would become public. At 6 a.m., the Tribune's website posted the article. The Theft of Catherine Ward, How a Doctor and Criminal Network Stole an Artist's Legacy and Erased Her Daughter. Sarah had outdone herself. The piece was devastating. Mom's letter printed in full, interviews with Clara and me, testimonials from other families who'd lost art to similar schemes, financial records showing the scope of Rowan's fraud. The hidden signature technique was explained in detail, with photos showing the crescent marks on multiple paintings. Within an hour, the story went viral. By noon, Rowan Pierce had been arrested again, this time by federal agents. The charges were extensive: murder, fraud, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. His bail was revoked. By evening, news outlets across the country had picked up the story. #Justice for Catherine Ward trended on social media. People shared their own stories of medical manipulation, art theft, inheritance fraud. And through it all, the collector remained silent. 2 days later, Detective Morrison called with news. We found him. The FBI identified the person who paid Pierce's bail, a man named Victor Marchant. Runs an international art acquisition firm, but it's a front for a black market operation dealing in stolen and forged artwork. They've been building a case against him for years, but he's always stayed clean. Until now. The publicity forced him out, I said.
Exactly.
He tried to move assets offshore when the story broke, trigger red flags across multiple financial institutions. He's in custody, facing enough charges to put him away for life. And Elena? We found the rest of your mother's paintings. Marchant had them in a climate-controlled vault. 23 pieces, all authenticated, all stolen. I couldn't speak. 23 paintings. Mom's entire life's work, preserved but hidden, stolen from us. What happens now? I finally asked. The paintings will be held as evidence during the trial. After that, they'll be returned to you and Clara as the legal inheritors. The FBI is also investigating other collectors and galleries that might have been part of Marchant's network. This is going to unravel a lot of crimes. When I hung up, Clara was crying. Not from sadness, but relief. The kind of tears that come when you've been holding your breath for years and finally, you can breathe. It's over, she whispered. It's really over. Not quite, I said gently. We still have to testify. Still have to face Rowan and Marchant in court. Still have to decide what to do with Mom's paintings once we get them back. Together, though. We face it together. Together, I agreed. The trial took 6 months. 6 months of testimony, cross-examination, media scrutiny, and slowly rebuilding the relationship that had been shattered. Clara moved into a small apartment near mine, nothing fancy, just a clean slate. We had dinner together most nights, talking about everything we'd missed, everything we'd lost, everything we might still build. Rowan Pierce was convicted on all counts. 50 years to life. Victor Marchant received 60 years for his role in multiple art theft operations, murder for hire, and conspiracy charges. Several other dealers and collectors were indicted as the investigation widened. And on a crisp autumn morning, Clara and I stood in Marvin's gallery, the same gallery where this had all begun, for the first public viewing of Catherine Ward's complete collection. The paintings line the walls, properly authenticated now, each one bearing Mom's hidden signature. The portrait of me at 9 years old held the place of honor, its $175,000 price tag replaced with a simple placard, not for sale. Marvin had offered us a percentage of any sales, along with a formal apology for his role in the fraud. We'd accepted both, but decided most of the collection would stay together, donated to a museum in Mom's name. Only a few pieces would be sold, enough to establish a foundation supporting artists whose work had been stolen or exploited. She would have liked this, Clara said softly, standing before a landscape Mom had painted of the Vermont mountains. Knowing her work would help other artists. That it meant something beyond just being beautiful. She'd like that we're doing it together, I added. Clara took my hand.
I'm sorry.
I know I've said it before, but I need you to know. I'm sorry for all of it. For believing Rowan, for erasing you, for being too weak to fight back. I'm sorry I chose fear over you. You were manipulated by a professional criminal, I said. And you were grieving and alone. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt, or that trust comes back overnight. But, Clara, I understand. And I forgive you. She squeezed my hand tighter. How do we move forward? After everything? One day at a time.
One painting at a time.
One memory at a time. I gestured at the collection. We honor Mom by being honest. By supporting each other. By never letting anyone make us into enemies again. Jonah appeared, carrying a clipboard. He'd been hired as the assistant curator for Mom's collection, his role in exposing the fraud earning him recognition in the art world. Ladies? The museum director just arrived. She wants to discuss the donation terms. We'll be right there, I said. But first, Clara and I stood together before the portrait of 9-year-old me, the painting that had started everything. In the picture, that little girl sat in sunlight, unaware of the darkness coming. She looked peaceful, innocent.
Loved.
Do you think she knew? Clara asked quietly. Mom, do you think she knew what would happen? That Rowan would kill her, that we'd be torn apart, that all of this would. I think she knew enough to fight, I interrupted. She wrote that letter. She hid her signatures. She tried to warn us. And most importantly, she believed we'd find our way back to each other. I looked at Clara. She was right. Clara wrapped her arm around my shoulders. Thank you for not giving up on me. For coming to that gallery, for fighting back, for seeing me when I'd spent so long trying to disappear. You're my sister, I said simply. You're difficult and dramatic, and you made terrible choices. But you're still my sister. And that means something. She laughed through fresh tears. Difficult and dramatic? Would you prefer annoyingly persistent and emotionally unavailable? Fair points, she conceded. We stood there a moment longer. Two sisters reunited, surrounded by their mother's art and the evidence of everything they'd survived. The wounds weren't healed. Wouldn't be for a long time, but they were healing. And that was enough. Ready? I asked. Clara nodded. Ready. Together, we walked toward the museum director, toward the future, toward whatever came next. Behind us, the portrait watched, that little girl frozen in time, waiting for the sisters to find each other again. And finally, after 3 years of darkness and lies and erasure, we had. 6 months after the exhibition opening, I stood in the foundation office Clara and I had established, sorting through applications from artists seeking grants. It was satisfying work, meaningful in a way my double shifts had never been. Each application represented someone fighting to protect their art, their legacy, their truth. Clara burst in, waving her phone.
Elena.
You have to see this. She showed me an email from a small gallery in Prague. They discovered another painting, one bearing the telltale signs of Mom's style and time period.
Could we verify if it was authentic?
I pulled up the attached photo. There, in the lower right corner, barely visible, was a familiar technique. A certain quality of light that Mom had mastered. And when I zoomed in on the backing, even through the photograph, I could make out the faint shadow of a crescent mark. It's hers, I said softly. There might be more, Clara said, her eyes bright. Paintings we don't know about, pieces she sold or gave away years ago. What if we could find them all? Document her complete body of work? I looked at my sister, at the excitement and purpose radiating from her, and felt something shift. We'd started this journey with loss and betrayal, but somewhere along the way, it had become about something bigger. Not just justice for Mom or healing between sisters, but preservation of art, protection of legacy, connection to something larger than ourselves. Then we find them, I said. Every single one. And we make sure the world knows Catherine Ward's name. Clara grinned. Together? I grinned back. Always together. We got to work, two sisters united by their mother's art and their own hard-won redemption, writing the next chapter of a story that had almost ended in erasure, but instead became a testament to resilience, truth, and the unbreakable bond of family. The little girl in the portrait would have been proud. When someone you love erases you from their life, do you fight to reclaim what was stolen, or do you walk away and build something new? If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of family, betrayal, and the courage it takes to uncover the truth.